Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Shervin Zainalian, the president of the association. I'd like to start with thanking everybody who's here joining our webinar today. This is the third webinar of the series of the webinars that PICRA has planned for the members and for the public, obviously, during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'd like to start by acknowledging the team of volunteers whom without them we would not be able to plan all of these. And also I want to thank Apostrophe Solutions' wonderful team. They've been extremely supportive and they've done an amazing job supporting PICRA for our webinars. I'm very pleased today to introduce you to Mrs. Kathleen Black, one of North America's leading real estate coaches and trainers. Kathleen is the CEO of the Kathleen Black Coaching. She has over 2 decades of agent development experience, and hundreds of teams attribute their growth and success to her leadership. Kathleen is also the author of the best-selling book of Top 1% Life, has been named twice as one of the top 100% and top 100 elite women driving the future of real estate. She's been recognized as top 1% realtors in Toronto Real Estate Board prior to her transition to full-time coaching. With no further ado, I want to ask Kathleen to start, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with all of you, and thank you to PICRA, for the Professional Association, for having me here and supporting us sharing with you during this time. So I am very thankful for that and to spend this time with you. So I'm going to be talking about some strategies, but they're specific to real estate, on how to lead successfully through times of uncertainty. So we're going to be talking a lot about, how to figure out exactly where we're at today in the market, which market we're in, how can we get in a place where we can lead really confidently, despite the fact that we're in a storm. And I think it's okay, to acknowledge that there is a storm out there, and maybe not today. My window has beautiful sunshine outside, but overall there's a storm happening, in the outside world. And internally, we might have a storm, we might have calm, but I think end of the day, the most important thing that those of us who are focused on protecting our businesses, being contributors, coming out of this strong, the most important things we can do is look towards strategy and focus. And focus is what creates strategy. And so we're going to be talking a lot about the different perspectives of focus right now, because we can all be out in this storm together. We can all be out at sea and there's massive waves, but the reality is each one of us are going to respond to that situation in a different way. And so I think it's really helpful to talk about what are the most common ways that people are responding to the storm, so we can identify it, and the pros and cons of taking that perspective. So I hope this is helpful for you guys today. I'm going to take you through a lot of that. And the goal is to move from potentially frozen or that wait and see mentality into a focused, responsive, planned, deliberate mindset. So we want to move out of, if you're in it, if you're feeling it, it's really natural to potentially feel some fear or some anxiety or some panic. The goal is that we want to move out of, reactive mindset, emotional mindset, and move into responsive, planned, strategic, confident, proactive mindset. And I believe that's available to all of us right now. We all know, in real estate, that the world loves to wait until the sunshine is out, when the confidence is higher, when security is higher, to make major decisions. And the reality is right now, the leaders in our industry are already making decisions today, which is going to create the momentum for when they come out of this. So your actions today are creating the level of your momentum on the rebound on the other side of this, which is really important. So some people right now are saying comfort is low, security is low, confidence is low, So basically, I'm going to be taking more of a risk, with my time or my money right now, but opportunities potentially to rebuild my business, to help the community, to be in a place of confidence. Those opportunities are really high right now. Whereas when we wait for the sun to come out again, confidence is higher, security is higher, but our opportunities are going to cost us a lot more at that time. And if we haven't acted on them today, it's going to cost us exponentially more later. So I'm going to take you guys through some slides. Thank you for the lovely introduction. I don't think I need to go a lot more into who I am or my background. I will tell you that my goal in life my fascination in life has always been, why can some people thrive amongst chaos? Why can some people come from whatever their adversity is, very difficult home lives, or for me, I left home very young, or, immigrating to Canada with very little. How can people come from all these different backgrounds and adversity and build themselves into strong, confident, contributing leaders? What happens for those people to be able to do that? So I've always wanted to study how can the best excel under the most difficult of situations, because if we can understand how they do that, we can help people step into optimal performance in everyday average situations, because often some people, even in an everyday normal world, feel a lot of anxiety, they feel a lot of stress, and then we've got people who can be in the most stressful situations and they can still perform quite well. So I've always had a fascination with that. I've always said, how can we be more efficient? How can we help model the best of the best in any area and bring it to people who want to be peak performers? So that led to a degree in psychology, and it led to a whole list of different certifications that some people build a whole career off of. Like, I'm a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming. I'm a coach in neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, pranic healing, energy mapping. What am I missing? There's a whole bunch. Oh, disc trainer's trainer. And I have a psychology degree as well, quantum change theory. Why do I do all these things? Because I've realized that you can have the best business systems, and I'm a systems person. So here I was for years trying to help realtors put the best systems in place. Our measurement for our tools are the most efficient, the most productive, the most profitable in the world. That's our measure, our metrics that our systems need to be able to compete with. So what we want to do is help people get to those highest levels, right? We're looking to make sure that they get to those highest levels of efficiency. And what I found over time is that I could help people with the systems, but I had to power people up for them to implement them and then to use them to the full extent of their ability. So I learned very quickly that I needed as many tools as possible to learn how to help people step into their most powerful state. And that's coming in very, very handy and useful right now, as we're obviously, navigating a bit of a crisis on our own. So a lot of us are coming from a place, some of us, where real estate was really busy, right? I work with a lot of people who are saying, you know what, I work so hard to have this a successful business, but my business became so busy, it was taking over my life. Some people were kind of, even to the point they were embarrassed that they would be missing things or they'd be on their phones a lot. They said, I worked so hard to have this success, and I feel like there's a lot of judgment around it. And I think a lot of top producers can have that mentality. And a lot of us are remembering times, when we were working hard, hustling to make it home for dinner, or make it home, for me to take my daughter to vocals, or, to take kids to various sports or lessons that they need to go to. And now here we are, right? We're all at home and looking at what do we do and how do we proceed at this time? So there's some key questions that I want to address today. And at the end of our time, this will go probably about, I'm hoping, 40, 45 minutes. And then I 100% will leave time for your questions. So if you have them, if there's a chat feature, feel free to type them as we go. We can answer them at the end, or write them down. If I don't answer it, you can type it in then. So what do we want to work on today? Number one, how can we turn a crisis into a powerful pivot? How can we turn this storm that's coming out in our lives and actually use it to our advantage? So one of the things that we're noticing right now is that we have 3 different reactions to this storm we're in. So if we use this metaphor of being out at sea, we have a couple of things happening. So for one, in real estate, we've had a lot of polarized thinking, which means we're not close in the middle. We have 2 different poles, and we have people on exactly the opposite sides. So we've had some people on the side of, continue to operate my business as I always did. I have my head down. I'm not thinking about the health risks. I'm not really taking anything that's going on seriously. And regardless of your politics or your beliefs, there's still guidelines in place right now. So those people are not really communicating to the public that they respect those guidelines. So some people are 100% hardcore business. I'm in denial, nothing changed. I'm going to pretend like my life is exactly the same as it was before. Other side of the polar opposite, we have a totally opposite side of judgment, because anytime you have polarized thinking, all you're going to have is judgment, because people are on the opposite. So it's like these people are throwing stones at them, and these people are throwing stones at them, and neither of them are appreciating each other. And because of that, there's failed communication, right? So the other side of the polarized is the anti-real estate. We shouldn't be doing business right now. We shouldn't be talking about doing business right now. And all we should be doing is calling to offer groceries and offer help in our community. And, it's shameful right now to think about or talk about business. 2 totally different polar opposites. 2 in complete denial for very different reasons. If I'm 100% focused on my business, I have my head in the sand and I'm not looking up and realizing there's a crisis going on, there's a pandemic, I need to adapt some things for the comfort of the public, for the safety of the public, and to be in tune with the tone of the market right now. That's denial of saying I'm not going to see what's going on around me because I'm not sure how well I'd cope with it. The other side of the polar is saying, I'm not going to look at my business right now because I don't even want to think about that, because that's a super scary place right now. So I'm going to judge anybody who's thinking it's okay to do any type of real estate right now, because in my head, protecting the public is shutting down completely. Now, we know from the US being a little bit ahead, we have clients, in La Jolla in California, we have clients in Chicago, Colorado, Martha's Vineyards, in Boston, we have clients all over the US. So we had clients who were in lockdown before us and with much more stringent regulations. And one of the things we saw that US mentality did very well was they had this promotion of working remotely. They had a mindset of keeping the economy going the best of your ability using remote measures. In Ontario specifically, there was a lot of confusion. We didn't hear a lot of direct messages because we're all trying to figure this out. And there was a lot, again, of we shouldn't be working, shut our business down, doing anything in real estate is dangerous. I am of the mind that we need 2 different viewpoints, and that success can be somewhere in the middle. Do we need to be giving massive amounts of goodwill to our communities right now, to our clients? Do we need to be offering anything we can do to help them? Yes, 100%. And we need to be doing everything we can to be diligent as professionals to bring the value that's needed in the market today. And we're going to be talking about what market we're in today, because we're not in a normal market, not even close. So we're going to talk about where you're needed and where you're valuable in this specific market. So it's not an either or. Polarized thinking thinks either or, right? Collaborative thinking thinks, okay, we can do safe, regulated, remote business activities, and we can support the community. And on top of that, depending how long this goes, we're more likely to be able to be abundant, to give to others if we don't get in a place of fear where we say, I don't know if I have enough, I need to hold on to everything, I'm going to stop doing business and kind of, put my head under in the sand kind of thing. We're more likely to need help later on. So that was a long way of saying we want to use a crisis to create a powerful pivot. I have never in all, it's 11 years, but it's full-time team coaching. So I've coached hundreds of teams personally. I think at this point we counted, I'm almost at 18,000 personal coaching hours. And then I've had coaching teams for 10 years. So I have coaches who work with our systems. And to this point, I have never worked with a top leader who made the changes necessary in their business by accident. It's always been because they came out of some personal storm, some personal crisis. They had something change that in them said, not another day. I'm not going to run my business the same way I used to do it. So they had the tension of a personal storm or a personal crisis, and they leveraged it to make changes that were phenomenally beneficial for their lives. And I think we all have that ability right now. Lead with confidence. Always, if we're walking in the dark, which some of us feel we are right now, I believe we're already creating the future. Some people are waiting to see the future, and other people are just frozen in fear, right? So I believe that right now, the first wave innovators and implementers are already putting in place what is going to be our future and the momentum of that, because they feel they have an ability to impact it. So ground down with our values, right? For me, values are contribution, knowledge acquisition, challenge, freedom, family and friends, usually travel, but right now that one's going to wait, and adventure. I just love to go and explore and be curious and go on new adventures. Also, I'm very grounded personally. For me, certain things like honesty or doing the right thing, I believe if I trick somebody else, I'm only tricking myself. I'm very much of that mind. So I won't hurt other people, because I believe at the end of the day, I'm not hurting them as much as I'm hurting myself. So for me right now, if I have to walk in the dark, I'm going to ground down in my values of what I believe in, what I know is important to me, and I'm going to reach up with everything I have to create momentum until to where I'm trying to go, which is the vision, right? And the vision might be that, you know, I look back on this and I came out of that crisis and my business was more organized, it was more efficient, my quality of life was better, I had more time with my family, I had more time with my children, more time with my friends, and my business was able to grow and thrive. I'm looking back, I'm so thankful that I went through that time, because good things came from it. So to me, that's grounding down with values and reaching up with faith, that if I do everything I can today to try to create what I want tomorrow, I will get as close as is humanly possible. As long as I get resources and I call myself out on bad mental thinking, I will get as close as possible if I keep taking action. Increase efficiency and productivity. And I know I talk fast, so please, if you have questions, I'm going to try to remind myself now to, I think I had too much coffee today. My apologies. So increase efficiency and productivity. How the heck in a crisis do we increase efficiency and productivity? Very, very simply, here's what we're going to do. We have so much advice right now going cut, right? Like cut everything back. And depending on your reserves, right? Like how much you have in savings, your ability to access funds, like liquid funds, if you need them, this is going to make a little bit of a difference for you. But essentially, cost isn't really relative unless we consider the loss of that investment long term. So I'm going to say that again. Cost is not relative unless we consider the loss of that investment long term. So micro me today in my life, something might look like a cost, right? I might say, hey, I'm spending all this money on lead generation, right? I'm spending all this money on social media leads or online leads, or I'm boosting posts. And my today person is hearing cut, fear, you know, get your umbrellas out. I'm going to say, that's the right thing to do. I'm going to cut that. But if I look at this and I say, okay, logic is telling me I'm 100% justified to cut that, right? If I'm in a fear, I can justify doing almost anything in fear in the short term. So my brain can trick me and go, you're in fear, so you should cut this. You're in fear, so you shouldn't call clients. You know, your list, you guys can write your own list, right? Of the things that go on in our head. But the reality is that logic in today's like moment is only relevant again if we look at the outcome of that logic. So you have your logic today, but what is the outcome of that logic in the long term, right? So it's just like saying, if I'm angry and I act out of anger, I act out of fear, I act out of resentment, I can justify it today, but the outcome of that logic, it's never right? It never holds weight. So some of the things in your business today, it's exact same. I can cut some things today. So let's say that I'm really good at lead conversion. So I can get leads come in. I can contact with those people. I know how to book my follow-ups. They're organized in my CRM. I do predictably quite well. And I have it tracked. I have it measured. I'm quite confident with what I do with lead generation. If you're in that situation, and let's say you have some savings, you know you're in real estate, you know you needed some reserves, And so you say to yourself, you know what, I have enough to get by for X amount of months with normal operating expenses. I know that right now, social media leads, for example, the cost is way down per lead, the volume is way up, and the contact rate's way up. I know as a business person, I'm really strong at conversion. So I can cut that cost today, and it's going to make me sleep better tonight. But you know what? 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, even if it's 6 months down the road, what is the cost going to be for me and my business because I cut that today? Even at a diminished conversion rate, even at a diminished conversion rate, you're still going to have a certain amount that's going to cost you as a business. So I recommend that you look at everything and you decide what actually is dead weight in your business. What is not giving you a return? What can you not be productive with? Because when we get busy again and we're out there and we're face to face with clients, training time does cost us more. Like, I'm a coach, right? So I have teams that are like 500, 600,000 deal plus a year teams who coach with us. Those agents are in on coaching calls when 100% they could be out face to face with clients. Why do we do that? Because we know that predictably we're going to be more efficient, we're going to do more business because we take the time for the coaching. It'll give us a bigger return. Right now, we're not out as much face-to-face with clients. So the time to train and learn and be more efficient is literally costing us nothing but our time, or maybe having mentorship to do it. And it's going to give us a higher rate of return later. So we have so many opportunities right now. So essentially, I want to go down my list and decide what actually is dead weight that I should cut. What is it that if I cut it today will be good today and will be good 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 months, 6 months, depending. And what the things I decide to keep, those are things you've mentally decided are investments. You're only going to keep investments that are going to get you more later. Like, people are keeping their administrators right now and they're having them overhaul their CRMs and put in all the plans they always needed. I had a team leader email me yesterday and say he felt like he had goosebumps. He's never had the time, and he's so excited that his business is finally going to run smoother when they get out of this crisis. He actually believes it's what's going to catapult them forward. So you take those things that you've decided are investments, and you want to make them more efficient and more productive. That's the hack. How can I take the things that I choose to continue to invest in and make them better? I've got this website. I've had it for 3 years. No one really fills out their information. I don't really get a lead from anybody. Now that I go on this website, I haven't even updated my bio. My pictures are old. You know what? I'm not really even driving any traffic here. What if I do some updates on the website and I come up with a content strategy calendar of how I'm going to drive traffic to the website? What if I get a plan for once I do that, I'll start to do some retargeting with Google. See how it can, and it becomes a snowball effect. And you don't need to spend all the money now, but you need to do the strategy. So anything you're paying for now, if you can become better at conversion with it, if you can make it run more seamlessly and take less of your time, you're going to increase efficiency and productivity, and it's going to pay you back more for retaining those expenses now later. Really important. Get strategic now, transition strong later. I think everything I'm saying is about that. Get your business organized. It's a beautiful thing to have an organized CRM. Those of you with teams, it's even more important. Resist the myth of hard stops and fast starts. If there's anything you can take from this webinar today, please write this down. I hope you're taking notes, because again, I talk fast because I try to layer information. Hard stops and fast starts do not only not work in the business world, they don't exist. I cannot go to the gym for 10 years, 6 days a week, habitually, and then take 2 weeks off. Now we're already at 3 weeks. Next week is our 4th week of free masterminds to the public already, 4th week. So let's say I've taken 4 weeks off now from the gym, then it's 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden maybe it's 2 months or 3 months. The idea that I'm going to walk back in the gym, and first of all, I'm going to even make it to the gym on the day it opens, the idea that's going to happen and take health concerns away, just momentum. The idea that's going to happen is very unlikely. The idea that I'm going to walk into that gym, be as strong as I was 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks before, 12 weeks before, that I'm going to have the momentum, that I'm going to have the routine down that makes me want to get up and want to go to the gym, that I'm going to have the mindset that I had when I left. We know how unrealistic that is. We know that's not going to happen, but some of us have this idea in our businesses that we can have this hard stop and we can chill out and spend extra time with family, which we want to do, we need to do, but that we can kind of, watch some extra movies and catch up on things. And then when the market opens back up, we can have a fast start. This makes absolutely no sense. Right now, the people who are going to be successful rebounding out of this market are 100% planting seeds in the dark. They're doing what every great leader ever has done. They're planting seeds and taking action on something before anyone else can even see the results. So I'm going to go back to our metaphor to make this even more easier to see. So we're out at sea. We have the one, let's use realtors because we're realtors. So we have the one realtor. And every single time they make a phone call to a friend or family, a loved one, the community, every single time they drop off groceries, every time they call a new lead, every time they call a follow-up, every time they do a new Zoom buyer consultation and they sign a buyer agreement, every time they do something positive, contributing goodwill to the community or goodwill to their business, they have another piece of wood, they have another log, they have another piece of string, another piece of twine, and they're building a raft. So they're out there in the middle of sea and it's wavy and there's a storm and all they're focused on is building that raft. That's it. Then in the next to them, a little bit down, we have the middle mindset. So that agent is like, okay, I'm just bobbing. I'm trying to keep my head above water. I'm trying to stay calm. And basically, I'm just hoping that when this calms down, I can swim to shore or I wash up on shore somewhere. And they're kind of hoping that they can pick up where things left off, but they're not contributing anything to build the raft that's actually going to be what gets them back to shore. They're just kind of waiting it out. Then the third agent has frozen. They've gotten into fear. Fear is seeped into them. And as soon as we get scared, what happens? We leak power, we get weak. And when we're weak, we don't trust what's going on around us. When we're weak, we don't trust guidance and we don't trust new paths. So it's extremely dangerous. The person who is trying to focus on what they're doing in their business and their community or with their family, with their children, because we've got little children at home, right? They're building rafts. The other people are completely focused on their inability to contribute to a positive outcome in their business, their life, their family. Fear has completely taken away their ability to build anything positive. That is so unbelievably dangerous because the person in the middle who's kind of bobbing around, they're going to watch you guys building rafts. And they'll be like, wait a minute. How is this person putting together a raft? And me, wow, I'm kind of inspired. You know what? I thought I was just supposed to bob around here and wait it out. But you know what? Maybe I'm going to build a raft too. So it's the different mentalities who are reacting completely differently to the market right now. So really important. There are no hard stops and fast starts. What we want to be able to do is, and I'll give you guys some extra just coaching advice. Some of you might have been on the masterminds and you might have heard me talk about this, but essentially, if you have a client process, like you've written it down, for buyers, here's step one, step two, maybe step one is your marketing. Step two is the specific type of advertising or lead gen. Step three is what you say, it could be the platform they come to. Step four is what you say to them when you reach out or what your system emails to them or what their text. Step 5 would either be their follow-up in the database, or it would be maybe a face-to-face buyer consultation. And you guys can get the flow from there. And then there's maybe market education and showings and negotiations and offers. The majority of what we do in this business is not offers. With each client you deal with, 90 to 95% of your time is dealt explaining the process, getting agreement to the process so you can guide people through with as much ease as possible. And that means that if you're spending the majority of your time making sure that people are coming into your process, your steps are already in place. Hopefully you know what your steps are. You have systems or tools for each one of your steps. And then you're at the place where you could pivot them and go remote. That's what you really want right now. So the agents who are working systematically, who have all those steps in the process, they not only have the steps, they have the tools, they have what to say, they know beforehand how to give value and encourage people to move forward with them. They are pivoting much more seamlessly online. Why is this important to you? Because here's how it goes. okay, I've got this new buyer consultation. I'd love to use it on Zoom because I can't be product driven right now. You know, somebody called me, they really love Greenway, but Greenway is not doing showings right now. I don't know what to say to these people to get them to even come on Zoom with me. So I'm just going to do a follow-up and I'll call them in a couple weeks. I can't really do business right now. How do you do real estate without being face-to-face? And you'd be right. Because when we're in a place of non-movement or when we're in a place of fear, we can justify our non-movement, right? All of us can do it. The other way that we can look at this is say, I've got all my steps. I've got all the systems and tools behind them. How can I pivot each one of those steps online? So now all of a sudden I'm going, I know what to say for why buyers want to meet with me to talk about how I can help versus a product or a specific house. I know what to say for them to want to come and show up at that meeting. Now I can do that meeting on Zoom, and now I can give them value to continue to work with me. So what's beautiful about what those agents building the rafts are seeing is they're going, I may be in the dark for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months, 4 months. I may not know what's coming up there, but every single person I talk to, I'm either going to offer 100% goodwill because that's what they need right now, just support, connection, calling and saying hi, that's it. Or if they're looking for real estate information, I am therefore going to be able to help them in the process. So some of those people might get to step 2. Some may get to step 4. Some may get to step 6. Some might buy or sell a house, you know, sight unseen without even meeting you. This is happening right now. The early implementers, the early innovators, a couple of weeks ago were being called out in Ontario and told off left, right, and center. A couple weeks later, people are going, oh, wait, how are you doing that remote? Oh, wait, you're not compromising health. How are you doing that? And they get curious, right? And then we all get better at it. So you might get some people go to step 2, some go to step 6, some go to step 8. The beauty is, when the sun comes out and confidence comes back in the market, security comes back in the market, then all of those people that you were helping that said, oh, I want to wait right now, I'm at step 3, I want to wait, I'm at step 6, now you're going to be able to have that rebound. You're building the rebound now that you're going to experience tomorrow. It's really, really important. And there was something else I was going to say with that, but I forgot, so I'll come back to it. But it's, oh, I know. So those of us who are in Toronto in the GTA, we experienced some, if you're in York region, we didn't experience a pandemic, don't get me wrong, but we experienced a really quick shift in the market, right? We had areas where they had 30, 40% hits in the value of homes. Like this was a massive shift very, very quickly. And what did we do at that time? The teams we worked with, and we had a few that 100% rebounded their year. It took us about 4 to 6 weeks to work on mentality. You know, why does somebody want to buy right now? Why would they want to sell right now? And remind them that, hey, we have buyer market tools, our buyers market tools and systems, like we're equipped with this. So once we shifted their mindset, literally all we did was shift our focus. The win was the contact. The win was a follow-up. The win was a buyer's agreement. The win was a buyer's agreement with, you know, an early price home evaluation, right? So we shifted our targets. So we did the exact same thing as we're doing now, except it wasn't remote. And we kept planting seeds. Sure enough, the sun came out, the confidence came up, and not all of those buyers or sellers, but a decent percentage of them became active in the market. And we had teams 100% make up their year, 100%, which is unbelievable. We had some come close, they were still happy. And we had a lot of people reaching out and going, you know what, my year was a write-off. Like I didn't know what to do. I went into freeze. I didn't even see people taking action because I was looking at the person bobbing. I wasn't even looking at the person building a raft. Because if I had been around people building a raft, I probably would have known that I needed to take action, right? And finally, retain top talent and attract those looking for leadership. We're already seeing a shift. People look for leaders who are present in a storm. This idea that we can have, you know, teams or brokerages and we can be profitable and we can show up and we can, you know, enjoy that when the sun is out means very little if we're a leader and we're hiding and we're not coming out and we're not bringing messages of hope, messages of clarity, and messages of hope, messages of clarity, and messages of focus, like what to focus on and how to be productive. If we're not doing that, We're creating a problem in our own teams. So what's happening is we can blame other people for recruiting our people, but the reality is if there's a problem under our camp, under our umbrella, and we're not solving it, the person down the road who solved it is going to attract our people. That's what's going to happen. And it's already happening. I have people reaching out going, I think maybe I should join a team. I was getting by, but it wasn't great. And coming out of this, I just don't want to be on my own. I have people calling me and going, I haven't heard from my team leader. I have no leadership. I don't know what to do. I am so scared because I'm doing nothing, right? So we have all sorts of shifts happening, and it'll happen on a brokerage level as well. So we want to be strong right now so we can retain talent and we can attract people who are looking for the leadership and the clarity that we can provide. Elizabeth Gilbert was on. I am listening to a ton of different podcasts and webinars, and I've upped my coaching support because I need to be strong and on my A game for our network, who are, really elite producers. So we've got to be on our game for that. And anyways, Elizabeth Gilbert wrote Eat, Pray, Love, City of Girls, a whole Big Magic, which is a great book, great book. If you ever want to write a book, read Big Magic. Trust me, you will be so happy you did. So Elizabeth Gilbert was talking about that during a crisis, that what you'll notice is the first responders are always walking towards the crisis. And also the people who are focused on helping, the people who are focused on solutions are also always walking towards the crisis. Everybody else is walking away. And I thought this is such a powerful way to look at it. We don't have to walk out in public because that's not a good idea right now. But there's other things we can do in our businesses and in our communities to walk towards the crisis. And we're going to talk about why that's really important momentarily. So have the ultimate staying power and future growth. You need three things. They're non-negotiable. You need them. Number one, you need a strategy that's built out of responsiveness. It's strategic, focused, and built out of taking action. So it's not fearful, it's not emotion-based, it's not reactionary. It's considering today and it's considering tomorrow. Every strategy should consider micro and macro, both, okay? So number one, strategy. Number two, we need community. We need to be around people who are like-minded, who are gonna support us in keeping us in the right perspective. And we need accountability. I cannot make my business more efficient or more productive without accountability. I just can't. I'm big on flow. My prosperity is energy. I always say if I can have more energy, I can make more money. If I can have more energy, I can build a bigger business. But most important, if I can have more energy, I can impact more people, right? I can power more people up. That's the most important thing to me. But I could feel really energized and then find out that less people want to work with us, or less people are booking me even for free talks. And therefore, I'm not really having the impact I think I'm having. I need to make sure I have accountability so I know what's real versus what I think is real. And they're not always the same thing. So we need to have metrics on what we're doing in our business to know if what we're investing in is actually working for us. To light a path forward right now when so many people are frozen, they feel like they're in the dark. We want to have that ability to be flashlights, to be torchbearers, to say, hey, I don't have all the steps, I don't have all the solutions, but here's how I can guide us through this process. As realtors, if you have active clients, they're all on your plane right now. And you are the flight crew, and you are in the air, and you are in a storm. And we know how important it is to get on the loudspeaker and say, we're expecting turbulence. We're expecting it to last this long. It might be a little bit longer. As soon as we have updates, we'll get back on the loudspeaker. Stress levels go from an 8 to a 4 just by telling people in advance what to expect. If you have anybody who is firm but not closed, you want to get on the loudspeaker and let them know, I've talked to movers. These are the movers still operating. I've talked to our top lawyers we work with. Here's any delays, or here's what they're experiencing. I've talked to the mortgage broker, specifically yours, right? Get on the loudspeaker in advance. And if it continues longer or things change, that's when the captain comes on, right? And he or she says, hey, we've talked to the flight deck and here's what's changed, and we're going to put drink service on hold. And again, the turbulence can last 3 times as long and people are still relaxed because you gave them the information. It's always the divide between expectation and reality. Anything you can do right now to make expectation and reality closer feels controllable, and it allows people to be in greater ease, including yourselves, of course. So We have three markets, right? We have our bear market economy, which is kind of a slag market, a slow market. And in real estate, we typically call that a buyer's market. We have a bull market, which is a strong seller's market in real estate world. And then we have where we're at now, which is neither of those things. We might have data from the real estate boards that'll say we've slid into a buyer's market, or, you know, we're still holding on a balanced market or a seller's market, and our inventory absorption rates are XYZ, which is really important. You need that information for buyers and sellers. But for you, in your head, you want to be adapting your message to the overall economic climate, which is a crisis market. This is the in-between time. What do people want in a crisis? It's very specific. We want instant solutions to urgent problems. I want you to write that down. Instant solutions to urgent problems. Everyone in a crisis market is waiting and seeing for anything that's not urgent, which is still great, because if we're talking to people who need real estate advice, the fact that they're going to wait and see is fine. You know, agents or teams who work with online leads, they know typically the leads they talk to are typically 6 months out anyway. We're okay with a wait and see as long as we can go to follow up. But the people who actually will put their money into the market right now will only do that to solve urgent problems. Maybe that's that they need a house right now. Maybe it's that they've been laid off, they need to sell, they have no reserves. If we as a real estate profession are not guiding and advising those people, who is? I can tell you in my neighborhood who is. It's the signs that are 3 times more prominent even now than last week for I'll buy your house for cash. I'll buy your house right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're investors and they're seeing a demand in the market that they're seeing agents failing to serve. So if somebody is desperate right now to sell their house and they're worried about not having enough equity to get, or not having enough reserves, to get them through this time, an investor will have no problem offering them significantly under market value. It's important that we're present to offer real estate information for people who need it. Anybody who is thinking of buying or selling in the next 6 months probably has a list of questions for you. Investors wonder if they should be moving towards the market and buying now. Have prices softened? Is this their great time if they have liquid cash to increase their portfolios? Whether we like it or not, whether it's good or not, is irrelevant. It's 100% happening. So in a crisis market, we want to adapt our language. We want to talk about, you know, first-time buyers. Is this still the right time to buy? You know, again, landlords, tenants, what type of concerns do they have? We all know that's been big up till last week, that's for sure. So crisis market, people invest in urgent solutions. So here's an interesting fact. Even in a bull market, which is the strongest economic market we can have, 80% of the population, and some of us are part of that 80%, there's here nor there, this is a motivation thing. 80% of the population, even in a crisis market, even in a bull market, strong market, positive market, even in that market, they will not invest in anything unless it's to solve a problem, to minimize risk for them, or because the problem has gotten so painful that continuing to do life or business or marriage or family or health, right? Like nutrition, whatever it is, continuing to do that part of their life the way they have up until then has finally done something beautiful for them. It's become so painful that they have to do something about making it better. 80% of the population will only ever hire you in real estate because they believe you're going to solve a problem for them. It's not because they think you're going to negotiate for them better, or you're a better expert, or, you know, for me, that I'm going to make their team more efficient and even more successful and they can be one of the top teams in the world, right? Those are not the reasons that 80% of the people will buy your service or will buy mine, even in the strongest market we can experience. Only 20% of people will invest in solutions. They'll invest in improvements. They'll invest in, you know, personal development and actually do something about it. Only 20% of people are investing in going towards what they want. You know, I want to build my wealth. I want to build my confidence. I want a more efficient team. I want a better quality of life. And just because, like, life's already good, but I want it to be even more. Only 20% of the strongest markets we have. Now take us into a crisis market. The majority of the 20% and the 80% are both waiting and seeing because it's not urgent. And in a crisis, our brains go into only focus on urgent problems. So I want to challenge you, whatever your messaging is in your business right now, how can you adapt it and make it organic with the tone of the market to solve urgent problems? And I'm going to leave off on, actually, I'm going to show you guys one more link, and then I'm going to take questions because I'm looking at the time. Solve immediate problems in a crisis. I'm just going to read this. I'm going to challenge myself to be super fast. So who do we need to talk to? Those you love, those you lead, which includes if you have a team, if you have a brokerage, if you have active clients, those are all people you lead. So those you lead and those in need. If we can continue with all of this noise happening right now to hyper focus, those we love, those we lead, those we need. That's if you're doing that, you're already doing really, really well. Firm clients waiting to close. I've already alluded to, they need to hear from you. They need you on the big speaker before they call you panicking and going, why haven't I heard from you? What's going on? And if your advice changes an hour later, call them an hour later. If you have no update for them, make sure you're calling them on a higher interval rate. One of the top things in trust, there's 5 things, but I'll say 2, is keeping small agreements and its frequency of interaction. When you go into a high time of stress or crisis, it's like you're reestablishing trust again. Make sure your frequency of interaction with any active people is higher. Active, must buy now, must sell now. You want to make sure you're sending protocol to your active sellers during this time, your active buyers, and you have protocol to give agents who are trying to book showings on your listings. This is really important. You need all 3. Protocol for active listings, protocol for active buyers, and for outside agents looking to book a showing on your property. And you want to show all 3 to both your active listings, your sellers, and your active buyers, because you're conditioning them for your new remote routine, and you're conditioning them that initial showings, initial information review are going to happen online, whether that's Zoom or another platform, which is our remote client experience. Please give yourself a specific strategy that is custom for new leads versus follow-ups. If it's a new lead and they're requesting real estate information, they'll tell you all day long that you have to customize what you're talking about. I can tell you from the top inside sales departments in the country, they are still booking lots of appointments. They are still signing agreements. People are hiring them. Some are going out shopping online and then with offers conditional on viewing. Some are taking a hold and waiting for the sun to come out. But the reality is, if I request something real estate specific from you, I don't know you, I don't want you calling me and asking me how my family are and how I am today. I want you calling me and saying, I'm calling you because you asked for this, this, and this. I want to make sure I get that for you and, send that information over right away. Is real estate something that's on your mind right now? Are you changing your plans at all around, the certain current crisis? How's it going for you? But you need to match the communication with the contact type. So a specific way you reach out for new leads, follow-ups, center of influence and sphere of influence, same thing. You just want it to be goodwill. And then our people who are in the remote world, because they don't want to move forward right now, we need a custom way to constantly keep in contact with them as well. Make sure you're adapting your content strategy and you're making it organic to the time. And if you have the ability and you're good at lead conversion, consider not totally chopping your marketing budget. That's not necessarily a good idea across the board. If you don't have reserves or you're not good at lead conversion as it is, and you're saying, I don't really do any deals from these leads, then yes, definitely cut it. But if you're good at it, really consider that. There's some people who are literally doubling their budgets right now because they can get more leads and they want to create momentum now for later. That's not for everyone, but it's for some. And community connection. Again, if I can put 300 points of goodwill out into the market this week, when the sun comes up, they won't all come back as real estate, nor should they, right? I'm not only doing goodwill around real estate, but a certain percentage of them just naturally will, because they know you're in real estate. They're going to ask you questions and they're going to remember that you had their back and you considered them and you touched base, just because at a really vulnerable time for a lot of people where they might be home on their own or they don't have other friends or family and they might be feeling a little bit down, you guys can up your energy and bring a little touch of that to the people that you communicate with. Solve our immediate problems. Focus on adaptability right now. You can say what you want. You can say why it's important to you, which are your values, right? But you don't really get to say how you get there right now. We have the most adaptable wins. which also means the person who can control their state the most wins, which is why it's like, if I can keep my energy high and keep myself focused, I'm more adaptable. Focus only on what you can do. Only on what you can do. On my coaching calls right now, I have strict rules. I will talk about any obstacles, but only if we're talking about what we can do to overcome them. So if we're saying I can't, or we used to, or that's not how I used to do it, or oh, I just want to wait until the market goes back to being what it was, it may never go back to being what it was. Let's focus on what we can do today. I still see people posting and going, you know, my brokerage should be cutting my fees because it's unsafe to do real estate right now. And they're literally doing nothing to be proactive in a way that is healthy for their businesses right now. They're completely, what do you call it? Like stagnated in fear. And stagnant is right. Like they're just frozen, right? In fear. Focus on where you are going, build the raft for sure. And remember, like I said, what you cut in cost today is only relative compared to what it will cost you later to cut it, or compared to what you would have made if you kept it later on. And I wanted to get to this slide because it has a free download of a book for you guys. So tension creates focus. I would say if you could bottle up the urgency that some people feel right now, right? The urgency of, oh my gosh, like I cannot be without deals for the next 6 months, or wow, I don't know what's going on, I need to help out. Whatever it is that gets people into a sense of panic or urgency in a crisis, that's the same idea of when you put somebody like in Navy SEALs training or onboarding in a real estate team. We create this like petri dish like environment where there's a lot of tension and people get a phenomenal amount done in short periods of time. If you could bottle up the urgency of this crisis and sell it to people in a normal everyday market, let alone like a bull market, you would be a billionaire. Don't waste a good storm. Don't waste a good storm, right? I'm gonna forget his, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name at this. Oh, Winston Churchill said, don't waste a good crisis. I say, don't waste a good storm. And the reason I say that is because I didn't realize till more than a couple of days ago now, but somebody emailed me this quote: using the power that comes from pain when properly harnessed. And I said, oh, that's great. They said, yeah, I put it in my journal. I'm reading it every single day. So that's fantastic. Where did it come from? They're like, Kathleen, it came from your book. And I didn't even put 2 and 2 together that I've just spent the last year writing a book that is all about having a storm in your life, having crisis, having chaos around you, and leveraging that power to catapult yourself forward. There might be loss around us. For some of you, you might already be scared. You might have family members who have become ill. People have lost loved ones. People are going to lose loved ones. This is going to happen. But us failing to act, failing to contribute, us dimming our light that we can give to the world right now is not going to take those losses away. And I think we all know that. Like, I have deep reverence for what's happening. I come from a family of all firefighters. Aside from myself, my sister is on the trucks. She has 2 young kids. Her husband is on the trucks right now in a different shift. 2 very young children. Like, this is a reality that's happening right now. And I could look at the fear, but I was raised with people who knew that in a crisis or in chaos, you stand up and you lead to the best of your ability. That's what you do. So us freezing or being passive or getting stagnant or letting our energy go down is in no way going to honor those losses, more than saying, I'm going to do everything I can to be a positive contributor so I can be strong and help people around me if it's needed. And if I end up, knock on wood, I hope not, but if I end up to need some support myself, that I'm relying on the people around me to be strong. So they're going to help me if I'm feeling weak certain days. So you have an ability there. I hope you can see it. It's bright in my office. It's www.top, T-O-P, the numerical number 1%, P-E-R-C-E-N-T, life, life.com. You guys can download the book. Publishers have it. It's going to be in bookstores January 2021, depending on what our world does, but it will be, and it'll be on Audible. So the publisher said we can give away unlimited digital downloads until they get it released in bookstores across North America. So we're really proud of that. But more so, I just want you guys to have it right now, because it's really going to have a ton of mindset for leveraging a storm and allowing it to make you step forward and be stronger. So I think that's probably a good place, because I went even longer than I thought I would. And I hope you guys have taken notes and taken value from this. And I just want to pause and see if there's any questions that have come in that I can help with or I can answer. And I don't know if you guys want to stop my share screen. If you can't, that's okay too.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. It was a wonderful, amazing session, and I'm sure everybody, just like myself, learned a lot. I'm sure I'm going to put myself into the position of planting my seed in the dark. I will remember that. That was one of the best things that I can take away from this session. Just like always, another fantastic webinar. Kathleen, we have a lot of questions here. One of them, but I try to take a note of all of them. One of the very basic and simple and most important questions is that somebody asked that have you or your clients, due to your long-term experience of working with clients in the field of business, have you been or experienced situations similar to what we've been facing right now?
That's a good question. I don't think anybody in recent years, right? Like we have some people who are in Canada who survived like World War II and Spanish flu and things like that. But I think in recent years, we've had economic shifts, right? Like we've had 2008 in Canada, which was nothing close to what US experienced, but it still certainly was, a quick shift into a buyer's market. We had 2017, as I said, in York region, which was extremely quick and deep hits at that time. So we have definitely harnessed teams to be able to be what we call agile, right? So agile teams can shift very quickly. Like the goal of an agile team or an agile business is to say that you have the foundation, you have the tools, you have the systems, you have the framework, the perspective, like the whole thing for all markets. So a buyer's market, a seller's market, and a mixed market. So if we're prepared with all those tools already, it allows us to change really quickly, because there might be some unique aspects of what's going on, but most of it we've already learned, we've already prepared for. So we just have to remind ourselves that we know it. So for example, in 2017, I was trying to energize a few of the teams in York region. And finally, one of them said to me, Kathleen, I'm just terrified. Like I've never sold in a buyer's market. And it hadn't even crossed my mind. Like they were trained for a buyer's market. Don't get me wrong. They had the tools. They knew how to paint the picture, but they had never actually painted it in that economic climate, right? So yeah, we've experienced those things. We've experienced quick shifts. We have the ability to be agile. And I'm very thankful that although this is an extremely unique situation, we were able to be agile now as well. So we were able to shift systems, but then we had to adapt. Like who knew we'd have to go remote, right? Like that's very new. Yeah.
And do you see more of your clients removing themselves from the trainings and the coachings, or joining more? What do you see? What is your observation when it comes to coaching?
Yeah. So initially, we had a lot of people really scared. Right? Really scared. And that makes total sense. And when you're a leader who has to lead other people and you're scared, you feel even more scared, because I need to be confident to bring my message to the people around me. So the quickest thing we did was bring our entire network together, because I always want to create perspective. And perspective just means, what do we believe right now? Right? Like I believe we're leaders. I believe we've been training for this our whole lives. I believe it's time to stand up and do our best. And that's the best we can do. And it's not a time to hide. I believe that. So I wanted to be able to influence those in our network, because I knew if they believed it too, they would focus on it, and whatever you're focusing on, you will act on. So we do have some people who have needed to essentially, we have a contingency plan. So if people are in a really difficult situation, we have some people who are heavily hit for reasons. They had a nurse in the family, many young kids, like just children with multiple medical needs, things like that. And our contingency plan for those people who really feel like in dire straits is we're paying our coaches to coach them, and they are not paying for coaching, and they will not be paying us back. That's just during this. They just need a little bit of help, right? We also offered a 1 month on hold, even for our annual members, if they need it. We also have the majority of our clientele who got strategic, and they said, I still have my administrators. I don't want to let my people go. I want to use this time to finally get as efficient as possible. And they're extremely focused right now. So yeah, we're on calls with teams all the time. Our coaches are still extremely busy, and we have new clients signing up for coaching throughout all of this.
Oh, fantastic. What would you think is the most crucial need of the clients in this market? If you were
Confidence. If I'm out there in a storm, I want an umbrella, right? I want an umbrella. I'm not out there walking in this storm if I don't have an urgent need. I'm just not. Like, and it might be my perspective, right? I might be a buyer who's lost out on, 5 multiple offers, and I'm desperate to buy my first home, but I'm still feeling like I'm motivated. It's urgent to me if that's the way I feel, because the pain of losing out is motivating me to walk out there in the rain, right? So I think buyers and sellers, most of all, are looking for a confident leader who's going to explain the process, who's going to be honest with them about the pros and cons of acting right now, and is not going to give them snap decisions. Like, it's going to actually take the time to educate them up front so they can decide what's best for them, and also let them pause if it's what's best for them, which to me is all confident, knowledgeable leaders.
Got it. I have a question here that was repeated a few times. I want to put them all together in one sentence and pass it on to you. There is the fear of market dropping by 30% or so in the back of every client's mind, as well as a lot of professionals actively working in the market. How would you deal with that? Like, for example, an agent who believes in a couple of months the market is going to drop 30%, and then the client who is in the same page of mindset, how would you deal with that? How would you powerfully treat that?
I think it will depend on the client's urgency and their needs, right? Like, how urgently do they need to buy or sell? I think it's like anything else. We don't make the market, we facilitate the market. And it will really depend. If you're a product-driven sales mindset in your real estate business, this is going to be a lot more difficult time. Like, the traditional mindset of real estate is, I tell you the price of your home will sell for, I tell you what's going to happen with the market. The consultant never needs to do that. So, like, my job is to analyze, my job is to create a strategy and to give you the pros and cons, and then get the heck out of the way and let you decide what you want to do. The buyer and seller are in charge. They get to say yes or no. Our job is to have a process that creates confidence and educates them, so we know that they have enough information to make the right decision. If somebody believes the market's going to drop by 40% in a couple of months, and they want to sell their house and they want to list the house, you tell them your current process, you tell them the pros and cons, and you use it as a challenge to become more innovative with your marketing and your exposure of the property. But to try to predict the market, I'm not in that business, so I can't give any advice for that.
Right. So you not to deal with the actual news that have so much negative impact on the client's mind is something that they can. Like,
in Toronto, our demand has been so phenomenal. Like, we don't know what's going to happen, right? We don't know how long this is going to happen for. We don't know how many, what percentage of people are going to be taken back into businesses and go back to. There's so many unknowns right now. I think we need to deal with the information we have in front of us on a case-by-case basis.
I know that you've been working with a lot of big teams across the country. How would you see the different demographical mindset among the teams in different cities? Like, for example, Toronto comparing to some other big cities.
At end of the day, in the most difficult buyers markets that any city in North America has ever had, eventually some people buy and some people sell. The economics of the teams do not really depend on their location. It more depends on their mindset, right? We have there are teams in Calgary, it's been an extreme buyer's market, who have been selling 300 deals, 250 deals every single year consistently, that we were working with them. And they've been in a buyer's market. They've gotten really innovative. We also have people in Calgary going, we're in a buyer's market. This is not a good time to be in real estate. So it really depends on the person and their ingenuity to get creative right now. But to be honest, it's not based on the location. Like we have big teams where they were going, do I cut everything and cut coaching and just like send everybody home and cut everybody? And then as we kind of like, as they move from fear into proactive strategy, their entire focus changed. But if somebody is committed to being in fear right now, the market probably looks really horrible for them, right?
Got it. Yeah. There's a lot of questions, and I know that you're short in time. I just want to wrap up the session with one probably last question. Okay. What do you think separates your coaching program than a lot of other coaching systems in place?
Yeah, great question. And I just want to make sure, I think you guys can still see my screen, right? Can you or no?
Well, I can see you.
Me or the PowerPoint? Okay, I'm going to read it in case. Okay, there was one, I want to make sure I leave you guys on this question, then I'll answer that. So the only last question I just want to bring up for you guys is, what do you need to do now to look back on this time with gratitude, knowing you use this as a wake-up call, right? You heard it, you listened to it, you acted on it to improve your life. That's really important. What do you need to do now to look on this, back on this time with gratitude, knowing you heard the wake-up call, you listened to it, you acted on it to improve your life? I just want to make sure that I fit that in somewhere. How is our business different and unique? We have more experience directly only with top teams, building from scratch into mega teams than any other coaching company in Canada. We've done it more consistently. We've built more teams, again, literally from the top producer up to mega teams. Like we've worked with people from 27 deals up to 550 deals in under 4 years. What we're told by our clients is that our systems are much more specific. Again, we focus on being efficient, productive, and profitable. The majority of teams out there are not profitable. They're not doing budgets. They're not even calculating profit correctly. They're not accounting for their time in the business. They're over-evaluating their businesses. And if they looked at it from an outsider's perspective, they probably wouldn't even buy their own business. But all we hear is, oh, this big team, and they're so profitable. And, you know, we have team leaders up there saying, well, if a team member does a deal, you know, here's what it costs me in lead gen, and then, you know, it's a couple hours of my admin, so it's like I'm getting the half, and even after I pay the expenses, I'm still doing well. That's not how a business operates. Like, these simplistic versions of how things play out are not accurate. So I'm the person who works with the team leader who says, I just built a team for 15 years and all my people do extremely well, and I've realized I can't afford to stop selling. I built on a model that doesn't allow me to exit my own business, and I'm the top producer carrying the entire team. And all of our systems work from starting from like 15 deals a year, because we coach individual agents as well, up until like 1,500 deals a year. And the difference is, I know if they make certain decisions now, it's going to cap them later, but somebody who's not team specific doesn't know that. So they give advice and they think, oh, it's going to be fine, because they don't know later on they're going to have major difficulties. This is all we do. So now we take teams from systems and actually, or systems from teams, and actually work with individual agents. And half of our MVPs the last 2 years consistently have been individual agents who implemented team systems and doubled or tripled their business. So that's been pretty cool for us. But I'd say we're holistic. We work with DISC and mindset. We're really top performance strategists. That's what we do. And we're there to help your team members and to help the leader. We're not just leader based. We're team, we're holistic based. I believe in teams. I believe they're a great place to build our businesses.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much, Kathleen. On behalf of myself and every other volunteer organizing this seminar and all being involved in PICRA, I would like to thank you. And I also want to invite everybody who's present in this webinar here today, invite them to join us next week for a very first time webinar in Farsi. We're going to have Mr. Sohail Kashani speaking about the current mortgage situation for us in Farsi. And again, thanks a lot, Kathleen, and have a wonderful long weekend, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.